It was a shocker of a race at Interlagos, as Mercedes won its first race of the season and George Russell enjoying his maiden Formula One Grand Prix victory. The Brazilian Grand Prix results became more interesting due to the W13 being the fastest car on track. Based on pure pace, Mercedes has done something really different, and it has become more and more obvious over the race at Mexico and Brazil. But what have they done to make such gains? Well, I guess you will have to stick till the end of this video to find out. Let's start from the sprint race at Brazil, where it all began. George Russell lined up P3 and Lewis Hamilton was P8 after qualifying. On the 24-lap sprint, George Russell made up 2 places, moving up to P1 passing Max Verstappen and Kevin Magnussen. Lewis Hamilton moved up 5 places to P3 from P8, overtaking his 2021 title rival, Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz had a 5-place grid penalty for using a new power unit, therefore for the Sunday's race, Hamilton was promoted to P2. This became the first race of the season with a Mercedes front row lockout, with Max Verstappen P3 and Sergio Perez lining up P4. On race day, Ricciardo and Magnussen came together, bringing out the safety car out on lap 1. At the restart on lap 7, Max attacked Hamilton aggressively, causing another collision. Hamilton drops down to P8 as a result, but he was able to attack and get back up to P2. Meanwhile, the Mercedes of George Russell was leading the race comfortably, a scene which we haven't seen all season long. Norris had a power unit failure, which triggered a safety car and allowed Carlos Sainz to pit for new soft tires, whereas the Mercedes duo stayed out having played strategy calls earlier. But not only was Lewis able to keep Carlos at bay, but also did pull a gap of 3 seconds at the end of the race. Lewis Hamilton scored 18 points, and George Russell scored 26 points, with the fastest lap to his name. We saw throughout the race, the W13 outpaced the F175 and the RB18. Not only were the Mercedes duo faster than their rivals, they also were able to get good tire life at the same time, as Lewis did a 30-lap opening stint on the soft tires, before making his first pit stop of the race. The Silver Arrows showed some good pace at Mexico, and we thought that the altitude favored the Mercedes. Interlagos is also of altitude, but it's not that high. Interlagos in Austria stand at approximately the same altitude of around 800 meters above sea level. And we know Austria was the track where Leclerc overtook Verstappen 3 times to win the race, but here at Brazil, they were not able to show the same pace against Mercedes. Max Verstappen told media after the Brazilian sprint race that the Mercedes duo were untouchable in terms of race pace. They look unbeatable, but I will analyze everything, and we would have finished 4th anyway even with a complete front wing. Even on the soft tires, we wouldn't have been fast enough, so we were clearly struggling on keeping the tires alive. So it is something we need to try and fix for tomorrow. Red Bull Special Advisor Helmut Marko was shocked of the pace shown by the Mercedes duo at Interlagos. The difference was 1 second in the second sector compared to Mercedes. Marko told Austrian broadcaster ORF, "That's way too much." Sergio was also unable to follow Hamilton. His soft tires also died at the end. In any case, it did not go as we had imagined. Carlos Sainz believes Ferrari were in defense mode because Mercedes were untouchable during the Brazilian Grand Prix. We're clearly on a bit of a defense mode because their car was untouchable today. It was simply the quickest car, quicker than the Red Bull. I think it's been a few weekends like that. In Abu Dhabi we need to expect them to win, and we need to either do the damage limitation, or go for the win ourselves. This was the first race of the current F1 season, where Mercedes has shown a strong performance like this, posing a P1-P2 finish. But this sudden performance uplift has raised certain questions, one question being if the performance uplift was caused due to the update package bought at Austin, and the second question being if the performance uplift was track-specific. We will have to dig deeper into certain aspects to answer those questions. First, let's take a look at the aerodynamic update package Mercedes bought to its W13 at Austin. We have talked about this update package on our previous videos, but to give you guys some context, let's touch a little bit on that. Mercedes brought a new front wing, floor revisions and rear wing revisions to Austin. The front wing sports slot gap separators, but was removed when it was bought to Mexico to avoid controversy. The front wing is fairly distinctive compared to all of the other 9 teams, having such a camel hump style front flap trailing edge, which will generate some transverse flow, but as can be seen with the narrow side pod inlets further rearward, the weaker flow from that area is being exited through the gap they create. Next revisions were to the floor fences and the floor edge. The small change to the floor fence camber is intended to improve flow conditioning, increasing the aerodynamic load on the diffuser while maintaining the load from the front of the floor. The new floor edge wing will also add aerodynamic load without impacting the diffuser load. The rear wing has also been updated to feature a new in-plate design to increase the load on the upper part of the rear wing. In addition to those updates, Mercedes has added some small slots in the top rear brake duct winglet, creating a feathering effect which will obviously have a bearing on the airflow, albeit quite small. This update was intended to reduce the rear drag and to generate more downforce through the underfloor. The new front wing seemingly has also provided better tire warm-ups, as we did not witness any warm-up issues from George or Lewis at the Brazilian Grand Prix, or we did not see them complaining over the team radio about warm-up. And we witnessed at Interlagos, the Mercedes W13 had that needed top-end speed, was still short of the Red Bull, but had the needed amount of speed to make overtakes easier, a characteristic which we have not seen from Mercedes throughout the entire season. Next to consider is track specifics. The Interlagos circuit is of altitude, around 700 to 800 meters above sea level, same as the Red Bull Ring. So, we can say for sure, yes, Mercedes has improved its car performance evidently, as at Austria, the silver arrows were way off the pace when you compare the W13 with the Ferrari and Red Bull cars respectively. But, here at Brazil, they are at least by a tenth quicker than the Red Bull and Ferrari cars. Also, they sport better tire degradation throughout the entire Grand Prix. So, to say if it was circuit specific, no, Mercedes is having a strong car towards the end of the season. Upgrades are working well, and it seems though that now Mercedes is a genuine contender. But, is it the maximum performance that the W13 has to offer? Well, yes and no will be my answers. If you go back to preseason testing, Mercedes officials were confident of the W13 being at least half a second clear of its closest rivals, according to CFD and simulation results. But, porpoising and ineffective data correlation meant that Mercedes started on the back foot. And the team has mentioned that a big mistake on car designing decisions taken on 2021 is the root cause for the W13 main problems. The decision or the problem was not disclosed to media by Mercedes, and it is a problem which cannot be fixed on the W13. We believe it is something to do with the suspension fundamentals, which during the cost cap era is very hard fixed to dial in. Yet in the recent Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos, the silver arrows were faster than Red Bull and Ferrari, with fundamental problems of the car not resolved as of yet. So, I would imagine what sort of pace a perfect W13 would be delivering week in week out. But that's not going to happen, but it might happen next year with the W14 effectively. Now, we have gone through the necessary details and we can safely conclude that the W13 has genuine pace, rather than luck and bad performance of rival teams. Mercedes has upped its game and is a genuine contender for race wins. But can any of Lewis Hamilton or George Russell win at Abu Dhabi, the season finale? I really got no answer for it. It's unpredictable until the cars hit at least first practice, cause these are new cars and the performance track-wise is very different. So, till the cars drive around the circuit, nothing can be said for sure, but predictions-wise, I can say for sure that Mercedes is in the fight. And it's a six-way fight for the win at Abu Dhabi, so I guess we are in for a thriller final race of the season. And what do you guys think? Who is going to win at Abu Dhabi, the season finale? Let us know in the comments section down below. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. It really helps to spread our content out to more people. Hit that subscribe button to receive updates relating to Formula 1. Thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you on the next one.